Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. And, Dave Petzo is joining us, the Petzo Center, the Petzo Financial. I'm thinking of getting a new feature on this program where we have like a featured city in America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you mean like you come on and just do a story about San Francisco or something? Is that what you mean?
Maybe San Francisco, but, I love the cities that really reflect the Treasure Valley. Like for me, you're a big golf guy, right?
Yeah.
So Augusta, Georgia would be a good city.
That would be a
right?
great city.
Maybe
Yeah,
our sister city of the morning should be Augusta, Georgia. Have you been to Augusta, Georgia?
I have, yeah.
And what did you think of Augusta, Georgia?
I thought it was really great to go to Augusta National. I didn't think much of the rest of the city, to be honest with you.
They've tried to recruit me to Augusta, Georgia several times, and
you're a Southern boy at heart.
I am.
You are, yeah.
But I'm here. This is my home.
Yeah, well, and you should be very happy about that.
I'm blessed to be here, but Augusta, does it remind you anything about the Treasure Valley at all?
Well, it is by size and all. Yeah, it's a much smaller area. Yeah, but I just thought it was not what I expected.
Not what you expected. Huh?
Well, Augusta National, of course, where the Masters is played, is
the hoity-toity elites.
Hoity-toity elites there, but that is some kind of hollowed ground. It's just an amazing place. But when you're driving there, you see, fast food joints and
what's wrong with fast food joints?
Well, it's not a healthy lifestyle.
Health is overrated.
Is it?
You should be. You as a financial guy, you should be happy that people invest in the fatty foods and are fatties. I'm a self-professed fatty, as you know, and you and I have given me a hard time about this in a great sort of way. But I mean, think of how much money people are going to save on Social Security if they
just die.
Right. That's what you're supposed to do anyway. You're not supposed to live forever.
I know.
So everybody that eats health food, they're cheating the system.
Those healthy and the people go out and do yoga and stretch and things like that. Yeah.
And all those people that fat shame on you. You are bilking the system. Don't you agree with that?
I do think that there is. You have some truth here. Okay.
Truth.
We shouldn't be discouraging people from smoking and eating poorly.
I've said that for years,
and we do. We have an awful lot of old people out there that are just killing Social Security.
Right. They should do less walking, more watching TV, and get a pizza every now and then.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and rarely. Well, they should have it delivered because getting up would be a lot of exercise.
Exactly. Getting up is overrated. If I didn't have to get up, I'd still be asleep. Anyway, Dave Petzo joining us, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. So last week we had a gentleman call in. His name is Mark from Eagle. Mark from Eagle has been calling shows in the Treasure Valley for many, many years and started going over the conspiracy theory concerning big oil, big gas, big money, and the boondoggle that's going on. And I said, Mark, and I hope that Mark calls in. Rarely do we do this. I said, you need to talk to Dave Petzo. You can call him at Money Matters, 8 to 10 on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. Or better yet, you can call in and I will be your objective referee when it comes to these insanely high gas prices. Now, I don't want to lead the witness. Right. I want to be fair.
Right.
But, I mean, you're happy that the price of fuel has gone up.
Well, I am happy that it is an economic indicator. I don't like to,
You're sticking it to us because you drive what? You probably ride a bike every day.
Well,
I'm Dave Petzo on a bike.
I'm trying to live forever. So.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's so funny because I was driving by the gas station, and I turned around to Rania, and I go, I know Kevin's going to ask me about gas prices on Monday. I know it.
This went on for about 6 or 7 minutes, and he was very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I said, you need to call into Dave Petzo. Now, I'm a poor man's Mark from Eagle. However, Dave, your thoughts. On one hand, it's a trade-off.
It is.
Again, I'll let you explain. On the other hand, I'll give you the negative. You have people that are landscapers, Pat from Middleton and others, that are hurting.
Yep, I agree. And there's going to be industries that benefit when gas prices are low. And whether it's airlines, it's landscaping, people that drive around a lot, use a lot of fuel, it's going to impact their business. It clearly does. But at the same time, if we take it on a global basis or even the United States basis, right, we have got a huge and growing infrastructure of, well, if you will, of energy. And this is So the fact that prices are up a little bit overall net to the economy and the economy of the United States, it's a good thing. And I don't want to pay more, but at the same time, it's not devastatingly high like it was about 10 years ago when we had a huge spike. Is it really 10 years ago? But I think close to that. But anyway, when we had a huge spike and gas and oil was up to $140 a barrel, and we were heading towards $4 gasoline. So it was a bigger impact at that time, and with the economy now and with overall help in the United States, because we are a net energy exporter now.
Yes.
That's the reason why it's a much less of a deal than it used to be.
Now, if I were the energy czar, or let's just say the boss man of all energies, okay?
Yeah.
You like that term, the boss man?
I think, yeah.
Do they ever
that
call
would be-
you the boss man?
No, they don't.
Okay.
No.
I have a great friend. I call him the boss man.
Okay.
All right? Very passionate young man. Brilliant man. A great guy. So I'm just going to say, if I were the boss man of the state of Idaho, I would be looking at creative ways of getting our reliance off that one pipeline that comes in, and, you know, the trucks that come in from Montana and everything else. That would be my goal. But if I were the boss man of the United States, if I were Donald Trump, I would say, you know, I was watching the show on TV. Do you know that the what is it, the Permian Basin or whatever they call it in West Texas,
Yeah.
that big thing? They're saying
Permian, yeah.
Permian Basin. That could be bigger than anything we've ever seen, bigger than the Dakotas. In fact, they look to be at the end of the year exporting, what is it, 4 million? Is 4 million? Is that right?
Barrels.
More, which is more than Iraq.
Yeah.
Just out of that area.
Yeah.
So we've got that. We've got the Dakotas. We've got everything else. You can't tell me that the greedy, grubby oil companies that use government roads, that use government pipelines, that use government this, government that, cannot say, Americans, we love you. Gas is now $1.50 a gallon because we love America. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, Dave Petzo?
Well, first of all, the oil companies are not actually very profitable. They really aren't. It's not something that's they're going in and out of business, especially in the Permian Basin. They paid way too much. The capital allocation was not good. The fracking is good, but it's not. The wells aren't lasting as long as they had hoped.
Barber making $180,000 a year.
Yeah, it's really they do.
Wall Street. I'm not kidding. The Wall Street Journal reported there is a barber that is making $100 and with no state income tax. I'm thinking you and I can go to a beautician school.
And
we can
cut
go
hair.
down there and we'll work 14-hour shifts.
I don't bet he does.
No, I'm talking about you and me.
I know. No, I'm just saying the people down there are. And you're right. And this is that's the other positive of the story. If it's profitable, okay, if it's profitable for people to drill for oil, they do. And that is a huge employer. From a barber who's not actually drilling for oil to all of the hard hats that are out there in the fields. That is and you're right. We saw that with the man camps, right? You wanted to buy a man camp when we hit the recession.
Right. They've got a ton of man camps going on right now. They're just killing it there. You've got people that have high school diplomas. You have people that have the GEDs making over six figures right now, driving truck.
I know. It's crazy. And when the boom ends, they're going to go back to their towns and find another line of work. And they aren't going to make that much. But that spills over in so many ways. You and I both know people that were when the boom was going on in the Dakotas. We know people that went there, chased after the jobs, and were making $80,000 to $120,000, as you point out, driving truck. It's huge money, and it does flow over. So the answer is when the energy of this country is doing well, that really helps the overall economy in America. Nowadays, it does. It used to hurt us badly. Think about it 20 years ago, Kevin, when we were importing from the very people that hated us. If we think about this in a very excited way, and I don't mean to be overly excited about this, but in a global sense, this is a huge game changer. We're not reliant on the Soviet Union anymore. We're not reliant on the Middle East anymore for oil. The very people that hate us, I mean, the whole world is changing because America doesn't need their oil.
Indeed. But we don't need high gas prices, Dave Petzo.
You just think you ought to be you want to be the boss and just give it away.
I want to be the big boss man and say, look, you use our government roads. And by the way, here's something. There are a couple lobbies that you don't mess with. I think one is the real estate lobby.
Okay.
I think another one is the truck lobby. You remember ACHD, right? Ada County Highway District. They're in charge of the roads. They had something on the ballot that would raise the registration fees of cars because the roads here simply stink.
Yep.
They're inadequate. They're good people. We love ACHD. So they put this on the ballot. Well, guess what wasn't there? The trucks. The trucks weren't going to have to pay.
Right,
you know
right.
why? Because the trucking lobby said, don't you touch us because we're not paying any big money. Now, you take a look at something called Ada County because the EPA mandated this air quality board, right?
Right.
And
Which you know a lot about. You're on that board.
Thank you for outing me on that. They and I've learned a lot. And, they're very passionate people about the air in Ada County. But then you have Canyon County. What about the air there, number one? And number two, when we talk about this, emissions testing and everything else, you have to get your emissions tested. And you have a lot of good people that own those stations. They're very friendly and kind. But on the other hand, do trucks have to get emissions testing? Because when I see the buses and the trucks, and then I see the big black smoke, I go, well, I don't think my little 4-cylinder Subaru Forester is causing that much damage.
No, it's not, even if it wasn't perfectly tuned. That's
Exactly.
true. You're right.
So you go back to it. Everybody has, if you have a lobbyist, like if I were somebody, I'd have you as my lobbyist. You're an influential guy.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't think D.C. is going to be ringing the bell anytime soon.
Okay. Fair enough, but I'm talking about here in the Treasure Valley. You
Yeah.
could you meet with all these people. They know Dave Petzo.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't. I wish I had a little more influence on some of the administrative things. I think there
I
are
wish
some
you
things I'd
did.
like
I
to
wish you
change.
did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It'd be good for us around here. We're in a transactional business. We all got to justify our existence, Petzo.
That's right. We do. Kevin, it's a good thing. I appreciate your passion about the gas prices. I really do. But I'm telling you, from a country perspective, this has been some kind of change for us.
And it's
moving over and being able to be energy independent changed the entire geopolitical situation. It's huge.
And let's go back to something that probably isn't covered in the history books. Dave Petzo remembers this very well in 1973 and 1979, the OPEC oil embargo. I, as a young child, remember it very, as much as I can, where you had people lined up. We didn't have these giant service stations like we do today.
Right.
And then you could only buy gas on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that.
Every other day, depending on what your address was or your license plate. They had different ways of doing it. And that's when you would be able to buy gasoline. It was, people take everything for granted. So, now we are so spoiled, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just that having an appreciation instead of looking for every day having offenses in our life is in my opinion, is a big deal. When we were growing up, Kevin, it was a great world. But we also had to worry about gas lines. We had to worry about the Soviet Union dropping bombs. It was a very interesting,
Now we got to
time.
worry about North Korea dropping bombs. That's progress.
Well, it is progress considering North Korea probably is not as nearly the threat that the Soviet Union was.
More coming up with Dave Petzo, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Waking up on the right side, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Petzo joining us. How long have you been on this station? 27 years? 89 years?
30-something.
30-something years,
Yeah.
and you're still with us.
I know.
You're like the longest living legacy that we have here.
You've seen
You've seen them all come and go, haven't you?
I have. I've seen a lot of people come and go, yeah.
We were talking about what would happen if I were in charge of things, the big boss man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think I would need an advisor. You ever watch the Flintstones?
I love the Flintstones.
You remember the Great Gazoo?
Yes. Okay, but that's kind of the new Flintstones. Yeah, that
Right,
was
the Great Gazoo with the the little green guy.
Yeah,
I think everybody needs a little green guy that gazoo, gazoo, gazoo kind of thing.
Yeah. What am I going to do about that? I agree with you. There has to be truth tellers in your life.
Right.
There has to be.
And if somebody's a little green person, so what?
I think that they're charming. Little
Gazoo.
Little Gazoo.
Right.
Yeah, or Lucky Charm guy.
Right. You
Yeah.
would be a Lucky Charm guy, huh?
Probably more than a Gazoo.
You can't trust the Irish.
No, really.
Well, maybe you can.
Yeah, some
Right.
probably you can't.
Oh,
I think that's true everywhere.
Well, I've seen those, those movies with the little evil leprechaun.
Yeah. I don't watch those.
Right,
they
scare
me.
Right,
I
leprechaun
don't like
one.
them.
By the way, for our Irish friends, for entertainment purposes only. Don't take us too seriously.
Well, yeah, like you're
You don't want to offend anybody.
We're trying not to.
Let's go to Blair in Boise. No headphones.
No
for
headphones.
you.
Yeah.
So Blair, if you can give us your thoughts, and then Dave Petzo will respond on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Blair.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, I used to work for a trucking company. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of info. Trucking companies live and die by gas prices, so when gas prices are high, they're really hurting because they have to, in turn, jack up the prices that they charge to their customers, and so the prices just get passed on. So high gas prices are not in the best interest of anybody in the trucking industry. But on by the same token, that means that they are also very much about saving money, especially when it comes to transport, because that's usually their margin. So, the trucking companies, and right now the trucking companies, they don't have enough people to fill their slots. So that's another reason why you have these truckers off in the oil fields making a whole ton of money. I have a couple of friends that did that for a while, and it's a brutal job. Typically, the guys can only do it for 2 years, and then they have to stop and do something else because the hours are so long. So, anyway, love your show. Keep doing it. And for Dave Petzo, why do you keep using the animal spirits? Those are a Keynesian thing. Those are not an Austrian economics thing. Anyway, have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Blair. Dave Petzo will respond in a minute. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. All right, let's put it to Dave Petzo here, host of Money Matters, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. For a gazillion years, you could be the great gazoo of KIDO Talk Radio.
I could be, yes.
Right.
Yes, right.
I could be the boss man, and you could be there. Actually, I would be kazoo, and you'd be the boss man. So here you have Blair saying your high gas prices are sticking it to the truckers.
Yeah.
And you and your animal spirits, Dave Petzo. Shame, shame, shame.
I know. Well, I don't know how to answer the. Well, I will say this: the truckers. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Kevin, because I do think that the trucking industry is incredibly heavily taxed and regulated. And I know you were opposed to them getting gouged, if you will, by the.
If I have to get gouged, you have to get gouged.
You have to get gouged. And I don't disagree with that.
It's a socialism type spirit.
Equal gouging of all.
Right.
Yes. That's our new government motto, right?
Exactly.
Equal gouging of all. I
Why
like
not?
that. That's socialism.
Exactly.
Kind of defines it right there.
So back to the truckers. See, for me,
Yeah.
if I would be a trucker, if I could be like BJ and the Bear, I think a lot more truckers would have a greater appreciation for the job if they could drive around with their favorite monkey.
Yeah, do you?
You remember that show, BJ and the Bear?
Yeah. I vaguely remember.
Right.
that.
It was a truck driver with his monkey.
Oh, that's really weird. I'm not surprised they didn't do well in reruns or on Netflix. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm the optimist in this episode. Anyway, back to you and your animal spirits.
Yeah, the animal spirit, I'm not sure how to answer that because I think it's pretty clear that when government gets out of the way, both through taxes, but most importantly through deregulation, and gets out of the way, that the animal spirits do come. I mean, it's like a supply side type of thing. If you are having less impact from regulation, then something will tend to grow. And that's exactly what we've seen. So I'm not sure how to answer that. I don't know what's wrong with the animal spirits. It's something you and I have talked about actually since you've been here.
You said it was Keynesian or something like that, not Austrian or Austrian and not Keynesian.
Yeah. Well, I would agree that I don't think Keynesian has proved out to be very good. Where
Me
government,
neither.
Yeah. So it's certainly been something that they taught that hasn't worked at all. In other words, the government. What Keynesian's really about is that government spending more when we're slowing down makes the economy boom. In other words, go ahead and deficit spend. It's really not a problem, and it is a problem. It is a problem long term, and it really doesn't work. So more government regulation, more government interference in our economy has not worked. Less does, and that's what I'm talking about with animal spirits. So I guess maybe we need more definition because I am confused why that would be in disagreement with Austrian economics.
Sometimes I'm not surprised by anybody that is confused by listening to this program. Finally, your top local story. What's big going on locally?
I think, Kevin, because of the impact economically, obviously everybody moving here is the top economic story. But if you want something with a little bit more specific, it's really the concern about what's going on at Micron. Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? Because as you well know, and your sources tell you that there's nobody left at Micron that was there, nobody in leadership at any rate, and so we're seeing really a big change, and all the people that run the company are Silicon Valley people, and I just we hope they stay because the economic impact would be very large and very negative. So that to me is the story to keep our eyes on. Micron's doing well. I don't know that there's any real big reason to think that they're leaving.
Companies, they're doing well.
Yeah, they are doing super out there because it is a highly competitive industry. I'm happy with them, but I think that's the story that we're all most concerned about.
Dave Pezzo, the Pezzo Center, Pezzo Financial. When he's not hanging out with the money elite, he's giving you his knowledge right here in the Treasure Valley.
My favorite thing to do Saturday mornings.
All right,
I enjoy it.
You are on fire. You're always on fire. Dave Pezzo, the Pezzo Center, Pezzo Financial. Catch him anytime, Facebook, Twitter. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Massachusetts Representative Seth Moulton, a 40-year-old Marine veteran, announces candidacy in an online video.
Whether it's appointing a cabinet member, negotiating a treaty, or signing an executive order, I will always uphold America's values.
Moulton saying he wants to tackle climate change, gun control, and national security issues. A progressive on many issues, Moulton co-sponsored the Green New Deal and says health care is a right for every American. He's also called for the abolishment of the Electoral College. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Thank you, Rachel. You ever notice with the libs, the lib here, the lib there, there's going to be like 25 libs running for president. All they want to do is tear things down. They want to get rid of the Electoral College, right? Because this no-name congressman from Massachusetts, east of the Great River, East Coast liberal, wants to, because he knows more than our founding fathers. My goodness gracious. Let's go to the sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Oh, Mr. Miller, how are you today? Such a wonderful, beautiful day today, and we have so many radical ideas about how to solve the border problems. I've been listening to some of your callers' radical ideas of how to solve these problems this morning, and some of them are downright ridiculous and even laughable. The border problem has been going on with us for many years. You can trace it back to the 60s with Lyndon Johnson when he started his Great Society program. We as a country basically put up this huge sign on the border that we will offer anyone who comes here just about free everything from medical care to food stamps, and the sign has been getting larger and offering more goodies each and every year. If you offer a child a piece of candy, they will come and take it every time. By the same token, if you offer freebies to people who have very little in the way of an economy and benefits, they will also come. It is our politicians who created this problem, and it is the politicians who don't want to fix it for many reasons. Much of it has to do with cheap labor for the large corporations. But in any case, it's because America offers them opportunity to do better in their lives.
Now, for people, though, that have not been listening all morning, what do you mean our listeners have been calling in with ridiculous ideas about
invading Mexico?
If I were the big boss man, I'd take a look at that.
That is the height of stupidity. I have never heard anything so ridiculous in my entire life.
You haven't been listening to this program for very long. Here's the other one.
I have. I listen every day.
Here's the other one, and this comes from you have 5 Mexican army folks pulling their weapons. Pulling their weapons on 2 U.S. military personnel in America. That's an invasion in my book.
If you didn't have a border problem, nobody would be pulling guns on anybody. The border problem starts with the politicians. I just said that.
If they want to pull a gun on us, they'll pull an A-10 on them.
Yeah. This is what happens. It escalates problems. It always does this. If you want to stop the flow of freebies...
Don't blame me. I'm an American soldier on American troops. The Mexican troops came in and invaded, pulled guns on our people, and we go, have a nice day.
I understand. I heard the whole story.
Oh, well, maybe a lot of people haven't.
Those things happen.
What do you mean those things happen? Imagine if we did that over there. Woo!
Hey, listen, it happened in Ukraine. It happened in Korea. It happens all over the world when people invade. It's because of misunderstanding. It's because we don't have definitive borders in many cases. They don't know where they really are. If you change the laws and you make it difficult not only to cross the border, but to procure any type of aid from our government, this is going to cut down our problem. We're our own worst enemy. It starts with electing politicians who love to spend our tax money frivolously on just about anything they feel is going to make them look good. Stop the freebies, build a wall, change the immigration laws, and you'll stop the flow of illegals. And until this happens, we're going to continue to be inundated by illegals until there are enough of them to vote us into a socialistic country.
Well, not only that, but I mean, they're going to bankrupt us. And look, why not just tax all the money?
They've already done that.
This is what, Interrupt Kevin Miller Day? You're a little feisty here this morning.
Oh, when I'm listening to some of this, I have a hard time understanding why people. I don't
think that there's a problem with it. If these folks want to come in and go after us, then we need to just. I don't mind the military being used on the narco terrorists.
I don't either. I mean, look,
you can't have it both ways. You
have.
Can't have it both ways.
Oh, you can have it both ways. Stop the freebies. I keep saying that. When you have militias down there that are being led by felons that have no right to detain anyone at the border,
now wait a minute.
You're going to create problems.
He had a citizen's arrest. And by the way, what Tea Party Bob's talking about is you have a guy who was fed up with how things were going. He decided to go down there, and he just nicely asked the illegals to sit down. Now, some of them apparently was pointed guns at him and that sort of thing. And he called the border. He called the border police, and they hauled him away. What's wrong with that? You know, by the way, you remember the Minutemen? Do you remember the Minutemen on the border? The Minutemen did the same thing.
Yeah, it took them a minute to get there.
No, the Minutemen on the border, not the colonial Minutemen, but this has been going on for years.
Look, what happens is they take the immigration authorities, the ICE people, away from what they've been doing, and they bring them in to collect these people. So what happens? They collect them, and they let them go.
Now, here's something.
Because they don't have any alternative.
Here's something that's ironic. And apparently you're going lib on this one on me. So
I'm not going lib. I'm going rational.
Here you have this posse in the history of the West, New Mexico, Texas. They see these folks coming in illegally. They detain them, just like they did in the Old West, little buddy. And all of a sudden, they get arrested and the illegals run free. Now, you tell me, where's the justice in America?
Kevin, nobody wants to solve the problem. The problem is not having more border patrols. The problem is building a wall, stopping the goodies, and changing the laws. You know it better than I do. We can't get the politicians to do that. You're not going to stop the flow. And narco guys are going to continue to use the kids to bring people in here and flood our borders. You can't do it.
Well,
you have to change what's going on.
Not in my America. If I were the boss man.
Having militias is not going to do it. I'm sorry to say that.
Well, all right, Tea Party Bob. We appreciate you.
Have a great day, Mr. Miller.
Well, right back at you, little buddy.
Take care.
You're still the Polka King.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See, always leave them laughing. If you ever want to watch what it's really like to be Kevin Miller, watch The Polka King on Netflix. No, we're not embezzling, but a really great show. I had a chance to check that out, and I love The Polka King. Anyway, coming up, there are a lot of things to talk about, but from the heart, here in the Treasure Valley, we are so blessed to be with you. When we think of voices of conservatism at the local level, they just don't happen anymore. And when that does, it's more along the lines of, hey, what do you think? What do I think? I'll tell you what I think. We had the Boise Hemp Fest this weekend. We had the Eastern Oregon Hemp Fest this weekend. I want to thank a couple of people in the drug enforcement business, in the stay sober, say no business, that have contacted me and have sent me some very nice letters about what we're doing here. And because of those people, and if you are involved in the drug-free movement and you would like to get your information out, please consider me a resource. We never know how long we have on God's green earth. We never know how long we have together. But why not take advantage of the time? I had a friend of mine who worked at this big radio station, and I was always going to go see him. I was always going to go visit him, and I probably could have had a chance to fill in on this big station in Chicago. I never did, and because circumstances were beyond his control, that man was fired. Great guy. Now he's in Sacramento, but I never got that opportunity. And when it comes to the message of being drug-free, when it comes to the message of keeping Idaho marijuana-free, when it comes to the message of saying we're not going to be part of the stinky marijuana fields of Oregon, Washington, California, and Colorado, this is where we need our help. We need vocal people to say, I ain't down with the dope. I ain't down with everything else. Because, again, if you got our program last week or the replay earlier today, you had, Radical Russ talking about the plan is medical marijuana first in Idaho, and then after medical marijuana, what's next? Well, we're going to get the recreational in. Now, you tell that to children. You tell that to people that are driving vehicles. You tell that to people that are over-the-road truck drivers. Tell that to people that own paint stores. I had a friend of mine who worked at a paint store. And by the way, they're on Fairview. What is it, Miller Paint Company? Love Miller Paint Company. Never met them, but with a name like Miller, they can't be all bad. They've got to be pretty good. Anyway, so to work at the paint company in Pennsylvania, he had to pass a drug test. So if drugs are so good, why are people testing us? And I said, if we wanted to solve the problem of the illegals in this country, E-Verify for all employment and mandatory drug tests. Now, a cholesterol test, that's going a little too far. I'm kidding. But you really want to stop this stuff, that's what you do. But marijuana is coming. Marijuana is coming. Coming up next, we have one state that is breaking federal law, very upset because the immigration status of the illegals coming in that are caught smoking marijuana disallows them from becoming a U.S. citizen. That's one story. Number two, in our never-ending quest, our mission statement is to improve the lives of folks in the Treasure Valley. Road rage gets radical, not only here, but in another state east of the Great River. When will they ever learn how to behave properly and politely on the roads? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Now we have presidential candidates, senators bragging about their pot use while they're kids who can't get a job because they have a nonviolent offense for doing things that 2 of the last 3 presidents did.
Presidential candidates have become a lot more open about discussing marijuana.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay.
Like I inhale. I did inhale.
The changing landscape could be attributed to a shift in public opinion. Several states have legalized recreational marijuana, and the majority of states have legalized medical marijuana. In the last presidential election, Bernie Sanders was the first major candidate to support marijuana legalization.
The time is long overdue for us to remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Many 2020 Democratic candidates have voiced their support for legalization.
We should end the federal prohibition on marijuana.
America agrees we should legalize marijuana, we should decriminalize it, and we should take away the federal prohibitions.
I would be open to the possibility of legalizing marijuana.
Senator Cory Booker was one of the first to support legalizing marijuana at a federal level when he reintroduced the Marijuana Justice Act, with many of his 2020 opponents voicing support as well. And despite actions taken by the Justice Department under his administration, President Trump has said he respects the rights of states to implement their own laws.
I really believe you should leave it up to the states. It should be a state situation.
It hasn't always been this way.
Marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug in the United States.
Marijuana use, or even discussing legalization, was once considered politically damaging.
There was a time when what Bill Clinton said today would have ended a political career.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
They've asked other presidents that were running, did they inhale?
I did.
And while President Obama admitted to smoking marijuana when he was young, he was against legalization at the federal level.
Whether legalizing marijuana would improve the economy and job creation. The answer is no, I don't think that is a good strategy.
A recent Gallup survey found that 2 in 3 Americans support legalization. And this evolution in political acceptance is a sign that politicians are finally reflecting the views of their constituents. As 2020 approaches, it may prove to be a rare issue that both sides can agree on.
There we have it from CNN, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. The ever-changing views on marijuana, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And from what I hear, Generation Z, no, not the millennials, which are yesterday's news, as they enter the workforce, as they get the right to vote. Generation Z is now all of a sudden going to be the most pro-pot generation ever. Let's hope they don't have to fight the Nazis or the Imperial Japanese or anything else, because how can you be motivated when you're taking a doob? That's number one. Number two, Drug-Free Idaho. Various law enforcement organizations. We're willing to partner with them to say no to drugs. Look, we are outmanned, outgunned, but it doesn't matter. There are no outlets. Think about this. In the Treasure Valley, there are no outlets that say we proudly are drug-free. There are no television stations. There are no newspapers. There are no radio stations besides Idaho's First, that we proudly carry the mantle of our great predecessors that brought radio to the Treasure Valley, that say no to drugs, that say marijuana legalization is the path to ruin in the state of Idaho. Maybe everybody's right. Wouldn't be the first time that everybody's right and Kevin Miller's wrong, but I'd rather go out on that. And look, we have a lot of enemies, this program does. The devious little libs, nationally and locally, plotting to destroy us. Angry that somebody of faith, somebody of freedom, somebody of values resonates with the folks here, with you, with me. Somebody of our ilk has a radio show that the people are the star. Number one. Number two, you've got the establishment folks that wish that we would just carry the tune and not say, why hasn't Idaho repealed the grocery tax, Republicans? And now we take a look at the pro-drug industry. Very fast, very growing, very powerful, but we are not afraid because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, as those kids at Boise High did so many years ago by starting this radio station. We have to stand for something. Look, if you're pro-drug, that's great. We can agree to disagree. But if you are fighting the drug-free fight in schools, it's got to be tough to be a school resource officer right now in schools. By the way, we'll be at Eagle High School this week. Think about that. More on that in a minute. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Quickly to Brian in Nampa. Brian, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. I've been running back and forth to Burley, Idaho to help my daughter, so I didn't get to call in. But when Bruce called in the other day and he said, what's the problem with marijuana? And here's the real simple answer for all your viewers. Why does the federal government not allow you to have a firearm if you're using a controlled substance like marijuana? Because it alters your brain, and they are aware of it. And even though politicians, even like Trump, says they leave it up to the states, the federal government still knows that if you are using marijuana, it changes you mentally, and they don't want to trust you with a firearm. So the next time somebody calls in and says, I smoke dope or I'm for it or whatever else, ask them, did you buy a gun? Do you have a gun? Are you aware that the federal government doesn't want you to have that gun if you're doing that? Because when you filled out that form, it states that, and it also states, I can't remember what the fine was, but it was up there, and it was up to so many years in jail. So just remind people like that. I listened to that. I was on the road when you were talking to him. I wish I could have called in, but I'm one of those guys that, does what I say. I didn't want to be on the phone and drive. It's dangerous. So just remind everybody that, Kevin, I'm on your side on the marijuana thing. I don't want it in Idaho. I know it's here illegally, but it's dangerous. That's what I got, Kevin.
Brian, you got all the, thank you. God bless. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.